My name is Margaret Hale. I am 73 years old, though if you asked my grandson Ethan, he'd probably shrug and say, "Old enough. I used to be many things, a nurse, a mother, a wife, a homeowner now." According to my daughter, I was dead weight. Funny how a life can shrink into 2 words. It started subtly. These things always do. At first, it was the small silences. When I walked into the room, conversations would dip. Not stop completely, just soften like someone turned the volume knob down halfway. My daughter, Lisa, would smile too quickly and say, "Oh, Mom, we were just talking about nothing important, nothing important." I raised her. I held her when she cried through fevers and heartbreaks. I worked double shifts so she could have braces and piano lessons she never practiced. And now, nothing important. We lived in the same house, my house. Though you wouldn't know it by the way they acted. It was a 2-story suburban home, white siding, blue shutters, the kind of place neighbors wave politely, but never really know each other. I bought it 42 years ago with my late husband Harold. Back then, it smelled like fresh paint and promise. Now it smelled like reheated food and quiet resentment. Lisa had moved back in after her divorce. "Just temporary," she said. Temporary became permanent faster than mold grows in a damp basement. She brought Ethan with her, my grandson, 17 at the time, tall, always wearing headphones, living half his life in some digital world I couldn't quite understand. At first, I didn't mind. I liked the company. After Harold passed, the house had been too quiet, too empty. But emptiness, I would later learn, is better than being invisible. The first crack one evening, I heard them arguing in the kitchen. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. At my age, sound travels differently. It finds you. "She doesn't even help," Ethan said, his voice sharp, impatient. My heart skipped. "Were they talking about me?" Lisa sighed. "She's old, Ethan. What do you expect?" "I expect her not to just sit around all day." I stood frozen in the hallway, my hand still gripping the edge of the wall. Sit around? I cooked their meals. I did their laundry. I paid the utilities. But to him, I was sitting around. Lisa lowered her voice, but not enough. "We'll figure something out." Something out. Like I was a problem to solve. The label, the words came a week later. We were at the dinner table. I had made roast chicken, Harold's favorite recipe. I thought maybe it would bring back something warm, something familiar. Ethan pushed the plate slightly away. "It's dry," he muttered. Lisa didn't correct him. Something in me cracked, just a little. "I followed the same recipe I've used for years," I said softly. Ethan rolled his eyes. "Yeah, well, maybe it's outdated." "Outdated. Like me," Lisa finally spoke, but not the way I hoped. "Mom, don't take it personally. Things change." I looked at her, really looked. This was the same little girl who used to cling to my leg when she was scared of thunderstorms. Now she couldn't even defend me over a piece of chicken. And then Ethan said it. "Honestly, we're doing all the work here anyway. It's like carrying dead weight." Dead weight. The words landed heavier than anything I'd ever heard. Lisa didn't correct him. She didn't say, "Don't speak about your grandmother like that." She just stayed silent. That silence said everything. What they didn't know, here's the thing about being old. People assume you're slow, forgetful, out of touch. They forget that you've lived through more versions of the world than they've even imagined. They forget that you've adapted before, many times. What Lisa and Ethan didn't know was this. I wasn't just sitting around. After Harold passed, I had to learn things I never thought I would. Online banking, digital signatures, property management systems, and something else, something far bigger, because the world had changed in ways most people barely understood. Energy grids weren't just grids anymore. They were networks, self-adjusting, predictive, controlled by algorithms that could anticipate usage before you even turned on a light. And I had worked inside one of those systems, not as a coder, not as an engineer, but as a nurse assigned to a research facility where those systems were first integrated into human environments. I listened, I watched, and eventually, I learned. After Harold died, I kept learning because grief needs somewhere to go. Mine went into understanding the world that had moved on without me. So no, I wasn't dead weight. I was waiting. Middle. The turning point didn't come with a shout. It came with a letter, a simple, ordinary envelope, except it wasn't ordinary. The logo on the front belonged to a company most people had never heard of, but relied on every single day, Helios Grid Systems. Lisa brought in the mail that afternoon, tossing envelopes onto the counter. Bills, bills, more bills, she muttered. I watched from the living room. She picked up one envelope, frowned, and handed it to me. This one's yours. I took it slowly. My name was printed clearly. Margaret Hale. For a moment, I just held it. Then I opened it. The number inside was a statement, not for electricity, not for water. Something bigger, integrated residential energy network usage. Total due, $482,193.67. Lisa laughed when she saw it. What is that? A joke. Ethan leaned over. No way that's real. I didn't laugh, because I knew exactly what it was, and more importantly, AB knew why it was addressed to me. The truth comes out. Mom, you need to call them, Lisa said, already annoyed. This is obviously a mistake. I looked up at her. No, I said calmly. It's not a mistake, she blinked. What? That bill is correct. Silence fell like a dropped glass. Ethan scoffed. Yeah. Okay, you're telling me we used $500,000 in electricity. It's not electricity, I said. It's infrastructure. Lisa crossed her arms. You're not making sense. I folded the paper carefully. This house isn't connected to the standard grid anymore. She stared at me. What do you mean? I upgraded it. When? Years ago. Her voice rose. Without telling me, I met her eyes. It was my house. The system. I explained it slowly, not because I couldn't explain it faster, but because I wanted them to understand every word. This house runs on a localized energy network. It predicts usage, stores surplus, redistributes load. It's part of a pilot system I got access to. Ethan frowned. So what? So, I continued, it doesn't charge monthly like a normal bill. It accumulates based on usage patterns, optimization cycles, and network demand. Lisa's face paled. How much do we owe? I handed her the paper. She read the number again and again. No, she whispered. No, that's not possible. It is, I said. Ethan shook his head. Just don't pay it. I almost smiled. If we don't pay it, I said, the system shuts down. Lisa laughed nervously. So? We go back to normal electricity. I shook my head. No, the catch, this system, I explained, is fully integrated. Heating, cooling, lighting, water pressure, even structural stabilization. Ethan blinked. Structural what? The house relies on it, I said simply. Lisa's voice trembled. You're saying, if we don't pay, the system withdraws support. And then I looked around the room. At best, we lose power, water, and climate control. And at worst, I paused. The house becomes uninhabitable. The shift for the first time in months, they looked at me differently. Not like dead weight, not like an inconvenience, but like someone holding something they needed. Mom, Lisa said carefully, you need to fix this. I tilted my head. Fix what? This bill. I leaned back slightly. I can't fix it alone. Ethan scoffed. Of course you can. It's your system. I met his gaze. It's also your usage. Silence again. The line drawny stood slowly. I've been paying for everything, I said. For years. Lisa opened her mouth, but I raised a hand. No, let me finish. My voice was steady, stronger than it had been in a long time. You called me dead weight. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. Lisa looked away. I cook, I clean, I maintain this house, and I've been managing a system you didn't even know existed. I placed the bill on the table. If I'm dead weight, then you don't need me to carry this either. Ending. What happens when the weight is gone? Next few days were quiet, but not the same kind of quiet as before. This one had tension in it. Awareness. Lisa spent hours on the phone, trying to understand the bill. Ethan researched systems he barely comprehended. And I waited. Because some lessons don't land until reality presses in. The first shutdown it started small. The lights flickered. Ethan groaned. Great. Now it's glitching. I said nothing. Then the temperature shifted. The house grew colder. Lisa wrapped her arms around herself. Why is it freezing? Because, I said calmly, the system has entered conservation mode. Her eyes widened. Already? I nodded. Dependence, revealed by the second day, things got worse. Water pressure dropped, the kitchen system slowed, even the doors. Yes, the doors responded sluggishly. Because everything was connected, everything relied on the system, and the system relied on payment. The realization that night, Lisa came to me, not as a daughter asking a mother, but as someone who finally understood. I didn't know, she said quietly. I know, I replied. She swallowed. We need your help. I studied her face. For the first time in a long time, I saw something real there. Not frustration, not dismissal, respect. The decision I could have said no. I could have let the system shut down completely. Let them feel every consequence. But that's not who I am. I'm a mother even when it hurts. Even when they forget. I'll help, I said. Relief flooded her face. But, I added, things will change. She nodded quickly. Anything. I shook my head. Not anything, just fairness. The new balance, we restructured everything. Responsibilities, finances, respect. Ethan apologized, awkwardly but sincerely. Lisa listened more. And I? I stopped shrinking. Because here's the truth. People only call you dead weight when they don't understand what you're carrying. Take that weight away. And suddenly, they feel how heavy the world really is. The final twist day, month later, another letter arrived from Helios. Lisa handed it to me, nervous. I opened it, then I smiled. What? She asked. It's resolved, I said. How? I looked at her. Because I was never just a customer. She frowned. What do you mean? I folded the letter. I helped build the system. Her eyes widened. You, what? I chuckled softly. Dead weight doesn't build the future, Lisa. Closing words, so yes. They called me dead weight, and I gave them the bill, not to punish them, but to remind them. Every person you overlook might be holding up more than you realize, and one day, you might have to carry it yourself.